Well Rooted is brought to you by Gerard and Associates CPAs. With locations throughout Los Angeles, Gerard and Associates has been guiding entrepreneurs and creatives towards realizing their dreams for over 20 years. Discover how they can support your vision at gerardcpa.com. Hey, it's Haneen. Welcome to another episode of Well Rooted. Today I am joined by Sylwia Nazzal. She is the founder of Nazzal Studios. She took home the Fashion Trust Arabia Debut Talent Award last year and since then has had a major iconic past year. She's dressed everyone from Saint Laurent to Zayn to Dana Salah, and she has so much more in the works for us. Please welcome Sylwia Nazzal. Well, Sylwia, welcome to Well Rooted. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Because
It's Sylvia with it's just
Sylvia.
written with a W, but
Okay.
it's a V.
Okay. My husband and I were going head to head on this. He's like, it's Sylvia. I'm like, no, it's a W. It's Sylvia. And he's like, no, it's not. Okay. So Sylwia Nazzal, welcome to Well Rooted. I'm so honored to have you actually on our show because I admire your work greatly and I admire your mindset. You clearly had a very clear vision for what your brand is going to be. Welcome. Thank you for
Thank
joining us
you.
today. uh,
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to have you on the show. So it's been almost a year since you took home the Fashion Trust Arabia Debut Talent Award. What has this entire year been like for you since then?
Oh wow, I think it's been amazing because I think I've gotten a bigger platform because of it and more press and media coverage, which I'm really grateful for. And I think it's also allowed me to think differently about my future and my career and what I want out of it. So I think that's been my year in transition into the industry, I guess.
That's a great debut to have. And that was that collection that you debuted, that really got you that accolade was your senior thesis, correct?
Yes.
And what was the story you were trying to tell with that entire collection?
So I basically did this collection in 2022 to 2023. And I feel like I've always been very political and very outspoken with my work. And so I knew for my senior thesis, since you have to create a collection, that I was going to do a collection about Palestine. So I ended up calling the collection What Should Have Been Home. And it's about Palestinian resistance against oppression. And I see resistance in two forms. I see it as maintaining tradition as a form of resistance. And then I was also looking at actual images of people resisting the genocide and IOF soldiers.
That's that's a really great way to put it. Um, and what was it like? I'm just so curious because the reason why we're having this conversation to begin with is you shared a little bit about your experience in fashion school. You went to Parsons in Paris, correct? And you shared a
Yes.
little bit about your experience on social media. I was immediately intrigued. I was like, there's definitely a story to be told here, which makes sense because we don't really see Palestinian representation anywhere really in the fashion industry. So, what was your experience like putting this together as pretty much a minority? You're kind of pioneering this entire corner of fashion as a Palestinian.
I think for me, university was extremely difficult. I faced so much backlash from students and from teachers, and it was an ongoing struggle for me personally. And I think having a voice that wants to be political and outspoken in a world where they only accept what I like to call white feminism.
Hmm.
So, feminism that is not feminism, sorry, white politics like feminism and like
Yeah, yeah, that
LGBTQ plus rights. And
exactly.
when you can speak about those aspects of politics, I think it's celebrated. And when you start speaking about politics that should be spoken about, that people are uncomfortable, quote
Hmm.
unquote, with, that's when I think that there's a struggle and a disconnect. And I definitely had that struggle because I was in obviously an American school in France, which is very uh, racist towards Muslims and Arabs. And then on top of that, I'm pretty sure Parsons is a Jewish school. So I definitely struggled a lot.
Are there any specific moments that stick out to you that you were like, okay, this is like I'm really being tested here, and I'm sure like those were the moments where you probably just like threw it more into your project, right? Because you were just so overwhelmed with whatever was you were facing. Like, were there any specific moments that you really had to overcome?
Yes, for me, I think there there's so many layers to this, but I think if I'm just going to focus on my last year of university, my senior thesis, on the first day of school, um, they the teachers had told us to stay away from politics and not be political and chances of getting a job. And a part of me felt like, as I've always been very outspoken and political, that a lot of that was targeted at me for knowing that I was going to be extremely political. And throughout the year, it was definitely a struggle because I think if I narrow it down to teachers, I was, of course, not everyone, but I was getting a lot of uncomfortable comments, such as I would show, let's say, a reference image of a hijabi woman, and then I would hear something like, "Wow, you'd be surprised by how elegant the dress is." And I'm like, What is? What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Why are you surprised by how elegant the Arab silhouettes are? Or they would constantly compare certain silhouettes to like Mary and Jesus, which
Mm,
I love that it's from the Middle East. At least they found something in common, but I'm
right.
like, no, this is a hijab, and you are taking away from the references of this. If I felt like I was being extremely bold in my word choices, such as they would try to speak about it, and you could tell the lack of comfort, and they'd start saying things like, it's super complicated, this conflict. And I would be like, no, this genocide, this is an apartheid.
Yeah.
And so I would have a lot of backlash, but I was getting a lot of interesting comments. A few others were they like I had a woman come, and one of like a teacher guests come to me and tell me, but like, why don't you, with these African silhouettes, why don't you focus on more like African fabrics? Like, why don't you use more cottons? Why are you using puffer? And I would
Wow.
sit there and I'd be like, but I'm not African. I'm
Right.
Palestinian. I'm Arab. Why are you comparing me and grouping in cultures together?
Yeah.
And I think like them referencing, when I picture the Middle East, I picture these colors. And I'm pretty sure when I picture your desert, it looks like this.
Oh.
Like, but these are not the way you should be looking at my culture when I'm clearly stating what it is to you.
Yeah, exactly. It
And then,
seems it
sorry,
seems like
please.
they were trying to tell you about yourself. Like you're like, no one knows me better than me. And they were like insisting on telling you who they think you should be.
Yes, and I think also their perception of what I should be and what the Middle East should be as well. And I think from students, they were tired of hearing from me talk about Palestine. I had a student say, like, screaming in the middle of class, like, if I hear
Wow.
this B word talk about Palestine one more time, I'm going to tell her how happy I am her country's going through shit.
Holy moly. That's like
It
so
was
insane that that is even happening, you know, that people have the nerve to speak like that.
100%. And I think it was hard because I was speaking out a lot. And then on top of that, sending, like, we had a group chat for the class, and I would be saying, guys, these are donation links. And like, you should start looking into these things and try
Yeah.
to explain to them why this is so important. And these are ways you can donate. These are ways that you can help if you don't want to speak out publicly. I was trying anything
Yeah.
to just get my point across, and I was extremely passionate about it. And I would just be left silenced a lot of the time. I was bullied a lot of the time. I felt like sometimes people would choose to go against Palestine just to pick on me and like make a problem with me, even though they didn't even, let's say, care for the genocide, or they,
Right.
let's say, even supported Palestine. But sometimes I felt like they wanted to talk about Israel to me just to try to get under my skin, which honestly aggravated me so much in university. I was isolated a lot. And of course, there were like a few amazing people and teachers who I could connect to, and who, like, at least that's what carried me through my university years. But overall, I felt like I was screaming and like struggling and constantly put down. So
Mm.
it's almost funny because when October 7th came, it was almost like a switch where people started understanding what I was talking about. And I had already graduated and went through all of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to go through on your own. And it's, you were actually practicing resistance as you were putting this collection together. That's such a big endeavor for just one person to have to go through, but you did it and you like outshined everyone in that class, which is exceptional. That's really great. I think that's a true like testament to what the Palestinian spirit is. What was the, when did you see the shift? Like after October 7th, how did that present itself to you?
So for me, like I was in France and I was already struggling a lot in university. And when I graduated, I had so many opportunities where I was meeting designers from major brands and connecting with them and them advocating for me and pushing my work to their HR to have me at least intern for them.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, when October 7th hit, I lost every single opportunity. I had people in the industry who I was connecting with telling me, we would hire you, I would hire you, but this company won't accept how political you are. And this is not what they want. Or telling me like your work and your portfolio is much better than most of the applicants we received, but you're not going to get this job.
Simply
And
for,
blatantly telling me this.
that's 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 so crazy. That's basically, I mean, your existence, I mean, our existence as Palestinians is political in itself. Without us even uttering a word, it's political. And then to like go the step further to just speak up for the voiceless and to be crucified for that is really wild. Like it's wild that that's even okay in this society. That's a lot.
100%. I think also October 7th was the shift because it's actually the day that I went viral online. And then at the same time, it was when I lost all these opportunities and then gained so many more. I
Yeah.
think it was a shift of people, especially on October 7th and right after, people started to understand what my work meant. And
Mm,
that was both a good and bad thing in certain people's eyes. Good thing because then I think it came to light a lot and a lot of people understood. A bad thing in terms, not from me, but on some other point of view, might see that as, oh, this is too much. And right now, this is really intense, when really it's necessary. So I think
absolutely.
that is how the shift happened for me.
And honestly, like, isn't that the point of art though, is to like be part of the conversation or to start the conversation? We had an artist on the show before, Laura Salman, and she says art is supposed to be revolutionary. Like it's supposed to be a revolutionary force. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like it does play a role?
I think 100%. I think art is political. I think art is history. I think fashion is history. I think fashion and art reflect time, the time period you're in, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening politically in the world. Like if you think about when women start to work and start to wear trousers in certain parts of the world, things like that, I think it's always been a reflection. And even today, you can still see that. I think for me, at least, the way I see art in the way that I portray it is art is something that Zionists haven't learned how to combat yet. I see
Mm.
art as something emotional, not always tangible. And so, in that essence, I don't see a way that Israelis or Zionists have learned how to combat something so emotional and opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where there's a huge weapon that we don't realize. And art has been a huge way to get a voice out for Palestine in so many ways. Like if you look at the Handala drawing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was also the reason why the artist was assassinated was for a cartoon image. So there's always been I think, a very powerful connotation with art and the way it can spark someone's emotions and thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, and the Zionists could never compete with that. They could never compete with the artistic spirit of the Palestinian people. And what I really love about that collection It's like where you could have shied away, where you could have made yourself smaller, where you could have just watered down who you were and what you were going for. You chose to go bigger. You chose to go bolder. You chose to go more dramatic and like the most beautiful way. Was that intentional?
100%. From the large scale pieces to how in your face and bold everything was. That was so important to me. I think for me, when I was in university and I was looking at Palestinian heritage and also the way I see Arab creatives in fashion, I felt like a lot of the time Palestine was associated with the kafiyeh
Hmm.
or tatriz, like embroidery. And for me, I think those are really powerful. And I love the kafiyeh and tatriz. And I definitely have worked um, with the kafiyeh, and I've also am planning to work with tatriz. But I felt like there was no other way of it being of Palestine being portrayed. And for me, I didn't want this literal reference of this is something in our fashion and in our heritage that we are reusing and reinterpreting. I really wanted a way to emotionally spark people and keep a conversation alive and in some ways be really bold, whether in scale or reference images, etc. All these details. So I think that's why the collection became this very politically driven spirit. And I think on another aspect, there's no way for me to just talk about celebrating Palestinian heritage and strength without talking about the genocide when it's so obvious and in your face.
Absolutely. And you actually, I was just watching your acceptance speech from Fashion Trust Arabia, and you made a point to say, you mentioned the genocide, and you said, I've been speaking about it for years, implying that the genocide did not just begin on October 7th, as many would like, the world to believe. It's been happening for quite some time. It's definitely accelerated and it's definitely amplified right now. But what was the message you really wanted to send, and what did you want to invoke with your speech?
I think for me, I honestly didn't know we had to do a speech. So when I when I was like hearing people come up and give their acceptance speeches, I was like, oh my God, how am I? What am I
Yeah.
doing? So when I walked up, I was like, I have this platform. I'm sitting in a room with probably 300 plus people. Every single person I'm looking at, I've either followed on Instagram, I have seen their films. They are huge celebrities that I would have never been able to get the chance to meet this early on in my career if
Hmm.
I wasn't in an environment like this and if I wasn't accepted. And more importantly, if I didn't win, I would have never even gotten a platform to speak. So I think it only made sense to talk about Palestine because during the whole event, no one said one word about Palestine. We were hearing a speech from the like Fashion Trust Arabia crew about Lebanon, because at that time Lebanon was being bombed. So we heard a speech about Lebanon from those in charge with Fashion Trust Arabia, and I just sat there and felt like, how is no one talking about the genocide right now? There's this elephant in the room that I don't feel like is being addressed. So when I did give my speech, I'm winning because I'm a designer who is originally Palestinian. On top of that, my collection that I'm winning with is about Palestine called What Should Have Been Home. And it's
Hmm.
about the genocide. And no one's speaking out. And if I don't speak right now and put in the effort to tell everyone, hi, this is all amazing and I'm so grateful. But at the end of the day, this is still happening. And we're privileged sitting here having paid and catered dinner being so taken care of when people are so unsafe, are starving, are being bombed, and we have the opportunity to bring awareness to it. So I think for me, it was so obvious that this needed to be talked about right now. Because if you're going to give me a platform and I'm going to be having a voice
Hmm.
for a whole community that doesn't have one right now, then I think there's no other choice than to speak out and help in any way you can.
Absolutely. There's no other choice. I mean, you did the right thing and you nailed it, honestly. That was a great speech. I would have never thought you didn't prepare for that. That was good.
Thank you.
But I'm sure it's intimidating also. As you said, you're in a room with people that you admire, that you follow, whose art you've consumed as well, that I'm sure you look up to some degree. And you're really proud of yourself and the accomplishments that you've strived to get to. And you're like, I'm still going to use this time to speak about what's the most important. So I mean, people really should be taking note of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honestly, I think for me, I was like, I've been raised with so much safety, so much privilege that there's no other choice than to do what I can to help, whether it be donating or if I can create a career in art where all I do is give back to the community that I am inherently part of,
Mm-hmm.
then whether I'm suffering from it or not, I need to do all I can with this privilege to help and to bring awareness and to uplift in any way I can. And I think for me, that is the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the intentionality behind everything you do is so visible. And I think really also what draws people to your work. There's just a strong intentionality behind it. And we should already be more intentional with everything we do, from how we dress to what we purchase, what we're not purchasing, who we choose to support and not support. So I think that's just a really great example of being intentional with your energy and with your time as well. But speaking of celebrities, since you've launched your debut collection, we've seen it on a number of celebrities. You've seen it on Saint Laurent, for his groundbreaking Coachella performance. We've seen it on Dana Salah and on Zayn's like album cover. How did you get your clothes on these like iconic, stars that we have in the Arab world, particularly Palestinian stars?
I think for me, I've been very, very lucky in my career where because I was going viral and peaking, I think I could say like divine timing. I've
Mm-hmm.
been working on this collection for such a long time. Who knew that the world would wake up just as I graduate and have finished this collection and have been like lost all these opportunities, but then online have been gaining so many more. Like who knew that this would be a route for me? And so I've been very blessed enough where I've had a lot of stylists and people reach out to me, and I didn't need to reach out to anyone else. So I'm super lucky in that sense. So to even work with all of these people and all of these amazing important Arab celebrities has come from just exposure online and them coming to me and wanting to find more Arab creatives.
That's amazing. And then what do you feel like when you see your designs on stage, like, in Coachella, one of the biggest stages in the country or actually in the world, worn by like Saint Laurent? Like what's the feeling that comes to you?
I mean, goosebumps. I think for me, like I have like there's stages of goals for me in my career. One of them hasn't been reached yet, but it's seeing my work on a stranger. And that's something that sounds so exciting. So then seeing it on stage for such an important performance for me felt like seeing my work come alive because at the end of the day, my work is sculptural and it's important, but on a hanger, it doesn't mean anything. It needs to be worn and seen. And like that's
Mm-hmm.
how it's supposed to be used. And so I think that was an amazing moment for me. And funny enough, actually, I know Saint Laurent from when I was like in middle school and high school.
Oh,
So,
no way. What is the school that you guys all went to where it produced such talented individuals?
oh my God, we went to a school in Jordan called ACS. It's
Okay.
like an American community school here.
Okay.
But I like moved there in middle school, and I think he also just moved there. So I like have known him for a long time. He was like in the class above me. But it's funny because when his stylist reached out to me and like he followed me, he was like, Nazzal, I think he DM me and he's like, is this you, Sylvia? Like, is
Uh,
this your account? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, there's no way like you became like, and you actually pursued this career that you wanted. I'm so proud of you. And he was really supportive.
that's
So him
amazing.
wearing it felt like a very like full circle moment. And him
Yeah.
being the first celebrity and someone I've known for so long has also been such a full circle moment.
That is a full circle moment. That's incredible. That
Thank
must
you.
have been just like confirmation too, like you're right where you're meant to be, and like the people that need to find you are going to find you.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And I feel like, I mean, to your credit also, you talked earlier about how you kind of lost a lot of friends. You lost opportunities, but you've also gained opportunities you probably didn't even imagine. And I feel like that was also like divine timing, sort of sifting, through your life, like just getting rid of like the dead weight, basically, because now you can really find those that are going to connect with your art in the right way.
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny because I always think I started this brand by accident. I've
Mm-hmm.
always dreamt of having this brand, but I always thought I needed much more experience to begin. And I do feel like sometimes I obviously always feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but sometimes I have so much imposter syndrome because I feel like I've been thrown into this. My dream has always been to create something for myself, and I have a lot of detailed plans and steps with that. But like I said, I always wanted more experience. And on October 7th, I went viral for my lining of the collection, the incomplete list of Palestinians killed in 2022. So going viral for that. And then consistently after that, I kept going viral. And from like 170 followers on like that were all of my friends
Mm-hmm.
following my art and my creations became like so many more people, and inshallah more and more to
Inshallah,
keep
yeah.
spreading awareness and creating a platform and a community. But I was never planning on really starting a brand so soon. But when I was going viral and I didn't have any, job opportunities, people kept asking me, where can I buy? And so I ended up doing a pre-order basis of these are the two simplest pieces of my collection that I can sell.
Yeah.
So that I can do. But I never ended up like it was never like a full well-rounded brand. So I sometimes feel like now is going to be like my first collection as a brand because
Right.
I never had that opportunity before. It all just kind of sprung on me, but
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that it did because here we are.
No, no, literally, here we are. That's incredible. And it's so iconic. Like, I feel like you being already so young and as like very early in your career, you've already sort of given us such an iconic collection that it's so exciting to follow along and see what you're going to build next, what you're going to create next. And to do it without any reference, like in the fashion world, because there has never been a collection like this before. When you were creating the collection, like everything, again, it's when I think of it, I think of iconic, just like that hoodie, the coin, like the coin hoodie that you have, that's like intense, that's dramatic, that's beautiful. Where do you get that? Like, where do you start pulling your inspiration from when you literally are kind of the pioneer in this?
Honestly, I love like getting a question like this because I think it's so easy when you come from so much culture. I think it's really hard to, I feel like, okay, in the Middle East, you can see so much influence of the West and how we look up to the West in some way.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have so much of my life looked up to the West. And then when I actually lived in the West for
Mhm.
university and I was looking at the West directly, all I could look at was where I'm from and what my home in the Middle East. And I've never felt so much passion and urge to share that and express that and have even more opinions on that than leaving and seeing that no, this is not where I'm meant to be. This is not where I'm from. And so when you have all this culture, like just walking down the street, seeing the buildings, the roads, the way people talk, the way people dress, people deep in the culture, it's so easy to get inspired. Like that coin piece is a tradition that's it's an Arab tradition where you adorn clothing and headpieces and scarves to protect you from evil eye. And I
Mhm.
just decided, let's just go crazy with it and do like
Yeah.
a whole spiritual armor. But like the point, the reference point is so easy. You just look at what's already there.
And it comes off so chic and like just so cool that I feel like people want that piece. It's like a piece that's like sought after because it's just so unique. There's nothing else like it. Amazing. Like it's really incredible. Um like there's so much, I mean, you are sort of like this, you are a trailblazer, honestly, as a Palestinian woman doing this and just being unapologetic about it. But we do have some really big names from the Arab world that are in fashion that have been, ironically very silent the past couple of years. They have these huge platforms. They dress some of the, biggest celebrities in the world, like Elisab, Zuhair Murad, and again, just utter silence. What do you want to see more of in terms of like the fashion world, speaking out? What advice would you give to people? Like, where should they start?
Honestly, for me, I definitely want to see more of the younger generation being re-inspired by our culture instead of looking out to the West.
Hmm.
That's first and foremost. I think speaking out should happen naturally and inherently. It doesn't necessarily have to happen within the work that you create, but
Right.
I think it's important that it's done. And honestly, I think for me, the most important thing is seeing young designers get re-inspired by our culture. Something that I always, or in general, their culture. Something that I always like to think about is it would be so amazing for me if I could be a pillar in the industry, to be an activist designer and speak out and speak about issues that I think are important and celebrate Middle Eastern culture and actually change the way the world views the Arab world and the Middle East. That would be an honor for me, to make the West end up looking at us and think that we are so special and important and cool, and we're trailblazing and we're dominating. And I think there's no better time than now, because I feel, in my opinion, this is the first time in history where I do not see the West villainizing us and it working. And I think
Exactly.
that's where we have an opportunity to take this path forward and actually show the world why we're here, why we're important, and why we matter and should matter. And that we've been a huge pillar for design and art for centuries,
Yeah.
and we might as well do it now.
No, 100%. I agree with everything you just said. It feels like us, like culturally, like artistically, and as far as like architecture, design, fashion, music, we're on the rise, especially lately. Like there's so much richness of our culture that's being extracted and appreciated. So I think, as you said, it's like while we have the mic, let's keep going with this because we have so much to contribute to the world. And of course, people should care about what's happening in Palestine and Lebanon and everywhere else, regardless, because we're human beings. But we have a lot to contribute as well. And I think that's really important to bring up. If you had to pick like your dream collab with a brand one day, who would it be?
Hmm. Maybe, maybe because I've already met her, maybe Rick Owens, because I've met Michelle Lamy and I know she's a huge advocate for
She
Palestine.
is,
And
yes.
I think it would be a seamless collaboration between us, in my opinion.
How was that meeting her?
It was insane, because you would not expect to meet Michelle Lamy in Jabal Amman, like
Is
near the
that where you
Balad.
met
Like
her
you
in
wouldn't.
Amman? That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hilarious. Stop.
She was crossing the street, and yeah, I saw her and I'm like freaking out. Like, is there a glitch?
Yeah.
Is there a glitch in the Matrix? Why am I seeing Michelle Lamy in the middle of like downtown Jordan?
No,
Didn't make sense.
that's fate. Like I feel like that was meant to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And she was only there, I think, for 3 days. So it was, and she was going to the desert, I think, 20 minutes after I met her. So
Wow.
I kind of like ran and pitched myself and pitched my work and just said, like, I really have been dying to meet you. But I lived in Paris for 4 years and I never met her. But I moved back to Jordan and I do I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I meet her. I feel like the universe works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Did she give you any advice or any encouragement that stuck with you?
I think the most important thing that she did was boost my confidence and tell me that my work mattered, and that she actually really respected what I was creating and like was impressed by my work. I think to me that was the most jaw on the floor moment, because she's so respected in the industry and she's been in the industry for so long. And for her to see a young designer like mine work in the middle of Jordan, somewhere so random, and have
Yeah.
respect for it and actually be impressed by it, I think that was really cool, and like was something I needed at that time after graduating and feeling like my work didn't matter to so many people.
It's so cool. And then, as you said, she's so well respected. Her opinion really does have leverage in the fashion world. And for her to give her blessing to you is so iconic in its own, and it's amazing. But also, like, yeah, she's so respected and so iconic in the industry. And she's speaking out, as you said, like she's a big, big ally of the Palestinian cause. Are there other people like have you found that in other people, like since you've launched your collection? Have people reached out to you, maybe not publicly, but reached out to you personally and shown their support for the work that you do and for the Palestinian cause?
Not really, other than like Palestinians and Arab celebrities. But I will say in Fashion Trust Arabia, because I had this direct access to so many people and I
Mm-hmm.
was doing a speech about Palestine, I did get so many models and influencers come to me and designers and tell me that they respect my work and that it's important, and that say they loved my speech and they thought that it was amazing that I did speak about it in front of a huge audience. So I think that's where I got a lot of reassurance that, wait, there is a lot of people, I guess, in the industry who probably aren't very vocal about it, but came to me privately and said, your work matters and this is amazing and you're what the fashion industry needs. And so that was amazing to me.
No, you are what the fashion industry needs. And it's also worth mentioning that this is almost a year ago, and we've seen like this influx of celebrities, of public figures in the last month or two that have just come out of the woodwork, all, speaking up for Palestine all of a sudden. It feels like a lot of people were silent for so long, and now recently a lot of people are deciding to speak up because I think it's just become the ugly truth is just really in everyone's face, or you can't deny it. So you speaking about that and putting this collection that took you years to put together, and then speaking about it publicly last year when really no one else was taking a stance is really important to mention as well. It's not even, we've come a long way in that year. We still have even longer to go, but I just want to make it clear that you were already like using that platform and that time to lend your voice to the Palestinian cause. So thank you for
Thank you.
that.
Thank you. No,
Um,
thank you. Thank you so much. I
yeah,
mean, you're also part of the reason of like I'm getting a platform through you. So if
my
anything, I should be thanking you as
no,
well.
please don't, because I think it's so important just to have as many platforms as possible. Like your story is so important, and I know your story is gonna keep going, and you're gonna have so many more
Inshallah.
accomplishments to add to your list, inshallah. I'm very excited to see what comes next. So what are you currently working on right now? Or what can we expect from you coming up?
Okay, so I feel like for my upcoming collection, I want to celebrate Arab heritage and in a lot of ways educate my followers and the public. So I think my upcoming collection is definitely going to be rooted in heritage and celebrating Arab culture. And within that, taking a lot of content that is able to showcase that culture to everywhere else in the world through my lens and the way I view it. So I think that's going to be a huge part of my upcoming work this year.
That sounds so exciting. What are just out of curiosity, what are you wearing on days on your day to day when you're like in the studio or you're working? How do you stay like put together? Because I'm sure I mean, you clearly have an eye for fashion. What's your
Thank you.
go-to?
I feel like my going out outfits and then my work outfits are so different. I have a work outfit which is like a uniform to me, which is basically like trousers and a tank top. I think that is my go-to when it comes to every day working. I just want to be really comfortable
Hmm.
and move freely. And then my going out outfits, I feel like are where I actually put in effort and I actually think and want to create something fun. I think that's like my two different styles.
I love that. And it's like, so you're like a little bit more creative when you're actually going out as opposed to working, obviously.
Yeah, I think having a uniform feels a little bit nice in the sense of I know I'm gonna wear this, I don't have to think about it, and
Yeah.
I know I'm comfortable, so I can move freely and work freely. And that's kind of how I separate myself from work modes to just enjoying my life mode.
Yeah. And then are there any like fashion icks? Like just anything that you just don't like to see that maybe people you think people should just wean off of?
Honestly, not really if it comes to people expressing this themselves. I think the only fashion ick I have is when I see Arab culture or any culture being appropriated. I think that's a huge ick for me.
So what are your thoughts like on someone like wearing something pulled from like Arab or Middle Eastern like design? Is it that they don't credit the design or like the origin of the design? Or how, like, what is an appropriate way to translate that for someone who's not Arab?
I think if you're going to wear an Arab design and try to go in that direction, or in any way want to wear like more heritage of Arab heritage or Arab design, the only way I would feel comfortable is when someone actually buys from an Arab designer. Because I really don't like when I see Western brands imitate and replicate so much of our culture, or how many times you see the hijab on a runway, but because it's on a runway and it's in France, it's fine and it's socially
Yeah.
accepted and it's chic. But the second you see an Arab in it, for example, let's say, since I'm talking about France and French brands and runway, if you in France, the hijab is banned from the workplace. So when I see situations like that, that's when I get annoyed. But if someone were to buy from an Arab brand, I would have so much respect for them, because please wear our culture, please celebrate with us, but celebrate with us and from us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what are some of your favorite designers?
Oof. I think this is hard because it's, I feel like modern day, I'm still looking, and I think I there's so many young designers that are coming out that don't have brands yet that I can give so much respect to, because I see the work that they're doing. There was a girl in my university who I'm really close to, who I know wants to start her brand, and she's from Ghana, from in West Africa, and she focuses on scarification techniques reimagined in leather.
Wow.
And I see her using her culture and creating a way to make a moment tangible. And I look at that and I'm like, wow, this is something I respect and look up to. But if I'm going to look at brands, I think there's like pieces from each. Like I think Margiela, when he was in charge of his designs and actually part of Margiela and creating his career, he was so political and he was so free. And I think he's someone I look up to when it came to that period of Margiela instead of present day Margiela. And then there's Vivienne Westwood in her prime, where she was punk and political and speaking about women's rights and so many things that were at that time very taboo, the way Palestine might be today. And I have so much respect for her work. But in that time period, I don't feel like I have someone to look at right now that has either that is extremely culturally rooted, that is big, or that is extremely political, because we used to have so many political designers and I just don't feel like that exists anymore.
Yeah, well, maybe this is like the Renaissance. Maybe you'll lead the way because maybe
No,
they just need some inspiration.
that would
Hopefully,
be insane.
that would be insane.
Inshallah, hopefully.
Inshallah. No, you're definitely spearheading a movement in the fashion world, 100%. I'm gonna leave us with one final question. What does being well rooted mean to you?
I think being well rooted means knowing your heritage, knowing where you come from. I think it means knowing your voice and the voice of your ancestors. And I think at the end of the day, it's living and breathing and being one with your culture and your roots.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. So much respect and adoration for you and the work that you do. Anjad, it's been a pleasure. And where can people follow along if they want to follow
Thank
you?
you so much. You can check my Instagram and TikTok. It's Nazzal Studio. And hopefully soon my YouTube channel, which is also Nazzal Studio.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Well Rooted. If you enjoyed today's episode and felt it brought you value, please subscribe, leave a comment, give us a like, and a review. This episode of Well Rooted has been brought to you by Girard & Associates CPAs. With locations across all of Los Angeles, Girard & Associates has been helping entrepreneurs and creatives make their dreams come true for over 2 decades. Go to girardcpa.com to learn more. This is Haneen, and we are all well rooted.